All right. So a lot of controversy over the weekend about my treatment of David Wild because I was douchey to him.
Sometimes less is more.
I love David Wild, but David Wild was pissed off about Dinesh D'Souza being on this show, and he's a little bit fired up about that. And the reason I'm animated, as I always am, is I would like to find answers and solutions to problems, not break off into camps and call people names. I want answers when it comes to problems because, we just had some people die this morning. As we listen to this, I say that people are dying and that we don't have a problem or it's your problem or stoke the flames of hatred or whatever. I think that's causing problems. I really do. I think a lot of folks, there's a yin and a yang on both directions. You have people saying, look, I won't say what side. I say, you have people from the Huffington Post, and they go, well, don't call it Islamic terror, because when you call it Islamic terror, you're creating more hatred and more people that are animosity, and there's going to be more events. Okay, when you start calling comedians, you start calling cops killers, you are stoking some fires. You're going to get more
pinning with the same brush.
You're going to get more cops shot, and or folks shooting at cops are going to get killed. I just believe it. I don't believe it. I know it. I know that when you try to, and also in terms of succeeding in this society, I just wrote this down today, but I was just sort of sitting at my desk and I realized in this country and in any country, victims can succeed. My argument is never that these people weren't victimized or they hadn't in the past been victimized. There was no such thing as victimization. Oh no, I'll never make that argument with almost any group. It's hard to find a group. There are Armenians where there was a genocide. There's Jews, of course. There's Japanese internment camps, and there's lots of stuff. But victims succeed very well in this country. As a matter of fact, victims come to this country to succeed.
It's the story. It's how the country started with the Pilgrims leaving for religious persecution.
Right.
They were victims.
But here's who can't succeed in this country.
Sure.
People who look at themselves as victims. Being a victim, success. Looking at yourself and feeling like a victim, no success. And so I argue vehemently with all the people that are trying to get these people to feel like victims. Even if they are victims, I don't want them to feel like victims because that means no success.
Right.
That's my feeling. I'll make the same argument they make where you go, victim of rape survivor. Good. Don't be called a victim. Be called a survivor and then go out there and thrive, even though this bad thing happened to you sometime in your past.
Yeah.
So I argue vehemently for it because I'm tired of it. And I believe it holds the people back. And I'm then sort of doubly insulted by the allegation that I don't like the people that I argue for because I'm trying to help in my way. That's an insane thing. And then also this thing of like, sort of looking back like, oh, well, you and your right-wing buddies. Can I say this? And let me be incredibly clear about this. I do not get paid or succeed or have any more money in my bank account or any more opportunities in this town for stances like I made with David Wild on Friday's show. I get nothing. I suffer for that. Now, look, if you're Ann Coulter or you're Greg Gutfeld or you're Bill O'Reilly, then you do cash those checks.
That's your trade.
Yeah, Greg Gutfeld's a funny guy. He's a nice guy. He's a likable guy. He works for Fox News.
He's made it his brand.
Yes, he gets paid. He writes books. I write books about jokes and my family and me being a douchebag and what's going on in the world, but I don't sell them to that group.
Right.
I haven't gotten a check from Fox News, I don't think ever. I don't sell political books. I'm not on Fox. I don't profit from that. All it does is hurt me. The things I say get my movies and books and things I produce slightly less slightly less. I get a star and a half less than what I might get in terms of critiques. When Obama comes to town, he does Mark Maron's show. He doesn't do this show, which is bigger than Mark Maron's show, but he does Mark Maron's show. He doesn't do my show. Okay. On the whole, it hurts me and it hurts my brand. It does not help me. These opinions do not help me and my brand. They hurt me and my brand. They hurt me financially, and they hurt me socially. I don't get to hang out with George Clooney and Matt Damon and those guys, in part because of opinions like this.
Right.
In part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other parts are bad hygiene and your social demeanor.
That's why I say in part.
Okay, so let's make sure people see the whole picture.
Yeah, so the reason I say this, first off, let's just break it down. What am I getting out of it? Not other than not getting invited to a few parties and not booking a couple of guests. I don't get anything out of it. So at least you know what I'm saying. I'm saying because at least I feel that way.
Yep.
And I'm saying it because I'm attempting to enact some change. And look, we talked about the big homeless problem some months back. What did I say? Families. Homeless are all different shapes and colors.
How dare you?
But I said they're family. I don't want the government to throw money at the homeless. We're talking about putting a tax on this. Or now, first we're going to put a tax on rich guys, at least in Los Angeles. Now we're going to put a tax on marijuana. We're going to put a tax on something. We're going to give them some low-income housing. And I'm saying no. It's not going to work. The government's not throwing money, resources, keeping the libraries open longer, starting music programs. God bless you, David Wild. That ain't going to help. It's the family. It's the family. That's it.
What you said about Prager really stuck with me. Not that I experienced a whole lot of it with my family, but then they're great. But when you said about the hypocrites, I've been thinking about that a lot this weekend. When you said as Prager as a Jewish man.
Prager, one of the more clever things, Dennis Prager, who's and again, it's one of these. Dennis Prager is Orthodox Jew. I've made it clear to him I'm an atheist, and he has zero problem with me, and I have zero problem with him because we both believe we're good people, and that's sort of what comes first. But he did say with the Jews, if they would just preach what they practice, because my God, what those people practice is family, 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 homework, 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 education, education, education. They would never, ever let their kids spin out, be truant, not come home and finish their homework. And then they hit the voting booth, and it's as liberal as you possibly can get. And that's all I'm saying. That it's not my quote. It's his quote. But anyway, as far as I go, and Brian will back me up with this, always in terms of, Mr. Right-wing, you can pry my gun from my cold, dead hands. Not a gun guy. Never been a gun guy. Always been pro-pot. Always talked about wanting to have a pot plant in my yard and not even smoke it, just have it because I'm an American. I should be able to smoke a pot.
By any objective measure, the positions that be considered liberal or progressive.
Yes. Yeah. Always huge fan before it even got started of the morning after pill. That me and Drew were talking about this in 1996. The morning after pill. Pornography, fine, do what you got to do. Legalize pot, legalize drugs, legalize prostitution.
You were never against gay marriage?
No, it's never.
Well, hold on, Gina. It's like crazy.
Wasn't he?
The only thing that got in me trouble with that group is I always said all things equal. Something happened to me and my wife. I'd like a mother and a father to raise them. All things equal over two dudes or two chicks. That's all things equal. Well, what have we done? Well, you've given me a choice. You don't give me a choice between picking this group or that group. You give me a choice of all things equal. And my kids, and you'll find this out, Brian, get something substantially different from Lynette.
Right. Oh, sure, yeah.
And then substantially
love and affection.
Different.
Right.
Validation.
Especially what's her nose? The girl.
Safety.
They get something quite different from both of us.
Sure.
Which is, good. It's I don't know, but the difference between a catcher and a shortstop. One guy's doing one job, the other person doing the other job. It's all helps.
Is that a gay marriage joke?
It all helps the team.
Was that to be a catcher?
I left the catcher out. I left the pitcher out of it. So that was the only trouble I got into. But I've always been all everything all the time. And then willing to, because I'm all everything all the time, willing to put my opinions forward and what would work. Not what I think would work, what I know would work. I've always known family comes together, everything else is utopia. It's number one. I don't, all the other stuff is window dressing. It just can't, it's not going to.
It's Band-Aids on a gaping wound.
Well,
in fact, all
of the other stuff, whether it's the music program or more resources for the schools or keeping the libraries open later, that's all after the horse is well out of the barn and there's not much we can do after that.
It's not part of the foundation.
Yeah, I'm going to think of a sort of you say foundation. I like this. Okay. I am going to give you guys a concrete example of how this would work from a foundation, literally a foundation approach to our society coming undone, at-risk youth, poverty, all that, whatever your color is, wherever you're from, whatever city. Here's how it works. I do Ace on the House. Me and Ray sit around. We talk to people who live back east. They have basements, and the basements have water damage because they're 8 foot into the earth, and it rains and it snows, and the moisture in the water, and it comes through, and the thing's 50 years old, and it leaks. Okay. So they want to know what they can do to fix it. And it's cracking inside, and it's leaking, and there's this, that, and the other. And we can give them a list of things they can do. There's a crack inside. They can chase it out with a grinder and then pack some epoxy in there. They can put some weatherproof paint on the inside. Maybe they can put a floor drain on the inside. But that's all from the inside. You can't really do much from the inside. Yeah, you can patch, you can spackle, you can put a drain in, you can put a little bilge pump in that when it does flood during the winter months, it'll pump it out, but it's still going to be mildewing dank. So I said, well, recirculate the air so you don't get the mold buildup. That's all from the inside. And when you're on the inside, yeah, there's things you can do to kind of make it better. Sure. Keep the libraries open longer. Start some after-school programs. Get some better teachers and some better counselors.
Patch it up.
Patch it up. Let's get some more resources in there. That's all from the inside. If you want to really fix the problem has to be fixed when you're pouring the foundation, when you have access to the outside. You see, you don't get access to the outside, and the house is being born. That's when you get access to the outside. After that, once everyone's moved into the house and 8 years and 11 years is gone, now we're just running around. We're in damage control mode. The basement's never going to thrive at this point because it's just walking around patching stuff. Some jobs are better done. We do a better job with some than others, but it has to start from the outside when the basement is being formed. That's when the proper weatherproofing goes on. That's when the proper drainage goes in. And if you want to fix it now, you got to get a backhoe and start trenching and redo the whole thing. You better move all the earth around
it. Got to dig out your kid.
That was going to be my question. If we extend the analogy, now the basement we're several years in, the basement's showing signs of wear. It's maybe not as good as it once was. How do we fix this without blowing up the house?
Got to caulk the kid.
Yeah.
Gina, please, clean shop.
Well, first off, it's about, and this is, some people tweet me like, well, what's your plan? I don't hear any plans out of you. You don't hear any plans out of me because I'm arguing with everybody over the concept of the problem and or the plan.
Right.
Now, we never get to the plan part. I'm being shut down in the argument stages of this thing. Well, you approach it from a society like you approach any problem you do in a society, where if you want people to do more first thing you do is just admit, here's the problem. Whatever the families are, whatever the ethnicity is, here's what we want less of. We want less unwanted kids and more intact families, and we shall succeed as a nation statistically better than the other way around. This is what we want for all families. So we make a concerted effort to address that. Now, I've always said when you have, and again, none of this will ever happen, but I've always said when you have 8th, 9th grade girls who are at risk, come from broken families, single parents, poverty, this, that, and the other, you get hold of them early and make sure they're not going to get pregnant at 15. That's number one. And everyone's like, oh, I'm playing God. I'm doing it for them.
You're giving them a better chance to succeed.
Here's the deal with me. I'm always going to be fine. It just really doesn't have anything to do with me because I live in this neighborhood where there's no crime, there's no problems, and I'm fine. It's not me.
Right.
It's
not
like
selfish.
No, I'm not running for office, and it has nothing to do with me. I simply look at everything like a problem and attempt to fix it. That's all. But my first thing is find boys and girls, but because girls can get pregnant, and because we know statistically the ones that come from these kinds of backgrounds where there's single parents and there's multi kids and there's poverty and whatever are X times more likely to get pregnant in their teens, get a hold of them, intervene, start working. It's the same argument that the folks on the left make with, hey, you guys want to teach them, there's this whole new thing going on where it's like, hey, in the second grade, they want to start learning about gay and lesbian and transgendered people. Good. Let's keep that going. Let's start. Look, I'm a radical atheist. My thing is like, I'd put some Norplant in you on your 15th birthday and we'll take it out when you graduate. It's not. Hey, no harm, no foul. No harm, no foul. Like, I don't care. I'm doing you a favor. Do you want to be pregnant at 16 and a half? I'm assuming you're going to have sex because your dad's not around and because you need this attention from males that you should biologically want because you weren't afforded the attention that you should have gotten as a young person. Everyone is that way. I get it. Now here's something. They'll prevent you from getting pregnant and ruining your life.
And if we can, and while you're dealing with that emotionally, hopefully that's happening, let's deal with it physically.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there's a million things that
so
would
you're for
would
forced
work.
sterilization.
Yes,
all right.
That's right. Look, there's a million things we could do, and all I'm suggesting is that we start doing some of them. That's all. All right. We got, I'll get into this a little bit more later on. I'm just, all I'm trying to say to people is, for the love of Christ, what is going on in this country?
Well, I was copied on a number of tweets that were aimed, I think, I'm sure Gina was too, and I'm sure it was a fraction of what you got over the weekend. People who are upset with the way you treated David Wild.
A lot of back and forth.
A lot of back and forth. And I think, at least from what I saw, if I can say what I saw from the tweets, was people were not so much upset about your point of view or even your politics or your stance or whatever societal ideas you had. I think a lot of it makes sense. I think people were more upset about the fact that David Wild's a friend, a guy who came in here to sort of promote his TV show and kind of got wrapped up in a bit of a debate where, if you were debating a politician or Gavin Newsom, that's one thing. But, David Wild was kind of...
Came into here underprepared for the conversation. Maybe.
Well,
that's what it felt like.
I agree.
People were saying to me.
I don't know, but I believe he kind of instigated it.
He may have.
All right. Well, that's part of it. I didn't come in here to yell at David Wild.
I think he was trying to give you a hard time about Dinesh D'Souza.
And then
Dinesh is a little bit doggedly,
yes.
about one subject.
And then secondly, he stuck with it for a long enough time for me to look at him. Mm-hmm. And I'll do this with anyone who gets into it. I'll go, okay, now you have to tell me your plan. And if you can't articulate your plan, now you're in trouble. Because we just had 28 minutes of you crapping on my plan. That's all I'm saying. But also, I can give David Wild a hard time because I like David Wild. He likes me, and I think people understand that. You don't understand if you're not in the room.
Right.
But David Wild's not upset or angry or anything.
He's a sweet, strange-looking man.
Yes. And he and I like each other. Honestly, if I didn't like the guy, I would not come down on him as hard as I did. But I get your point.